Shalom, everybody. Welcome back. Hope everyone had an amazing Pesach experience and light. And it's amazing how what we're learning now in the Likutey Halakhot, Rav Nosson, is dealing also with this time period of between Pesach and Shavuot. Okay? Just before we continue, number one, always as we say, if you can please share these classes to others, friends and family. But also, we just want to recap a little of where we're holding. We're holding in Likutey Halakhot, section Orach, Chaim, the laws of Nefilat Apayim, which is the part of davening in the morning prayer, and also Mincha, afternoon prayer, right after the Amidah, the Shmoneh Esrei, where the custom is, at least by the Ashkenazim, to fall on one's arm, fall one's face onto one's arm. Okay, and Rav Nosson is going into the particulars of this thing, and also, by the way, he went into Pesach, the Arba Parshiot, and Pesach and Purim, Shavuot. So that's what we're holding right now, B'ezrat Hashem. We're in paragraph number 12. Just to recap, Rav Nosson is showing us that the concept of waiting, to wait in order to experience divine, is something necessary and is a key for a person's real spiritual growth. To explain better, on the one hand, we are taught in Judaism, and especially in Pirkei Avot, we're going to see in these coming weeks, Pirkei Avot goes into this theme, that you should not waste time in life. You have very limited time in this world. You should grab as much and as fast and as quick as possible Torah, mitzvot, ma'asim tovim, tzedakah, all good deeds. Grab as fast. Number one, you're here for a limited time. Number two, you don't know if they'll have this opportunity again tomorrow, the next day, or another time in life. So you have to grab and do as much as you can. So the attitude in Judaism is to accomplish, yalla, get a move on, get things moving. But on the other hand, the greatest level of perception is achieved through a waiting process. You're like pushed back, you're bounced back, you're trying to run, to perceive, to advance, and heaven says, no, hold your horses. Wait a second, hold on. And this waiting period is the key for letting the mind become settled. It's called in Kabbalistic terminology, the meyashev mesader of the mochin, the settling and the calmness of the mind. And the calmness and settling of the mind, and this is needed in order to perceive the highest levels of spirituality. This is the key. This is the key for everything else. Okay? So it's like a contradiction. On one hand, we're taught you have to run, but it's a higher level to wait. Okay? Now in this waiting, there's two experiences. There's the waiting where you're pushed back, and by being pushed back, you're exposed to setbacks and negativity and evil and impurity and all these terms. But on the other hand, if you pass that test, you overcome it, then you master through dafka waiting to reach the highest level of perceiving the infinite light. So in other words, the waiting is on one hand perceived as something negative, but on the other hand, it's perceived as something positive. Chametz and matzah, we went into this a little. We're going to go into this really. We went into it a little also, yeah. Chametz is the concept of waiting. But on the other hand, chametz compared to matzah, especially in Pesach, is impure. It's forbidden. It's asur. Because there's a time in life when you can't wait. You have to go in advance. That was the idea of experiencing our Pesach light of cherut, of redemption, where there's no time to wait. Okay? So there, chametz is forbidden. No, now is not a time to wait. You have to just advance and go out. They open the door from the jail cell. Go ahead, advance. But that's not the height. That's not the climate. The climate eventually is to come to this perception of the infinite light, a high level, where it's experienced through dafka, specifically waiting. Okay? So on one hand, you have to run and perceive and accomplish and absorb and keep on going and going and going in your Judaism because you don't know how much time you have. You have to hurry up. Time is limited. But on the other hand, there's a higher level where you're forced to stop, to wait, And that waiting accomplishes such a settling of the mind that becomes the main source of a blessing and a vessel to receive a higher level of divine perception called the infinite light, where no other way could you in life have proceeded, only through this way. Okay? So there are times when Chametz is considered something which is negative, but then there's the goal of elevating it, it becomes something which is positive. So let's see how Rav Nosson explains it. We saw already, on Pesach, it is absolutely forbidden Chametz. Why? Because when you are now in leaving mode, you're now ready to go up a level, there's no time to wait. Go. No time now to begin to explore and delve and to what's called ferment your mind in what's happening. You just have to have a simple emunah, pick up your bags and go. They tell you to go, emunah, okay? So that was the night of Pesach. And then after the night of Pesach, that big light is taken away. And then we have to work to develop now through waiting. The waiting period of Seta Omer is now like Chametz, leading up to Shavuot. Let's see how Rav Nosson phrases these concepts, these ideas. Look what Rav Nosson says. Va'al ken, az tzrichen lahavi shtei alechem mechametz daika. Therefore, then on Shavuot, when we finally reach the 49-day waiting period from the second night of Pesach all the way to leading to Shavuot, so the sacrifice offered in the temple, in the holy temple, on Shavuot, and today we recite this parsha about the Shavuot offering. It mentions there that 2 loaves of Chametz bread were specifically offered as part of the day sacrifices of Shavuot. He says, Rav Nosson, therefore now we can understand, with all these introductions we explained, why specifically then on Shavuot we have to bring 2 loaves of bread made of Chametz. Normally, Chametz is forbidden to offer in the temple. It was forbidden to bring in Chametz. All the breads mentioned, all the menachot in Parashat Vayikra and Tzav, they were all made of matzah. There's no yeast and leavening. Here though, however, there was Chametz. Also in the Korban Toda, by the way, it was the only Korban that 10 of the breads were made of Chametz also. So the Rav Nosson, when you see in Likutey Halakhot, in this discourse and also in Birkat Hoda Avav, he makes a connection between the Thanksgiving offering, which had 10 loaves of Chametz bread, and also the Shavuot offering, which also had 2 loaves of Chametz bread. Okay, like the verse says, this is a verse in Parshat Emor coming up in a few weeks. Well, let's read the whole verse there. This is chapter 23, verse 17. Okay, chapter 23, verse 17. I'd rather use the bigger version. So it talks about Sfirata Omer. Parshat Emor talks about the holidays. So like verse 15 reads in chapter 23, Usfartem lachem mimachot haShabbat miyamav yachem et Omer tenufa, and you will count for you from after the Sabbath, which is the first day of Yom Tov of Pesach, from the day that you begin to offer the Omer wave offering, you count 7 weeks. Sheva Shabbatot temimot tienas, and it'll be 7 complete weeks, and you're counting Ad mimachorat haShabbat haShvit until after the week end of the 7th week. Tisperu chamishim yom, you count 50 days, and at that day, on the 50th day, v'kraftem mincha chadasha l'Hashem, you will offer a new meal offering or grain offering to Hashem. And where should it come from? Mimoshvatechem, from the land of Israel where you dwell. Taviu lechem tnufa, where you bring a wave offering of bread. Shtaim, 2 of them. Shnei esronim solet, which are made from 2/10 of really fine flour. Tiena, it should be chametz te'afena, and bake it chametz, let it be fermented with leavening agent. Bikurim l'Hashem. Okay, so the verse is talking about the korban for Shavuot, and it says clearly chametz te'afena. You have to bake it chametz with leavening, fermentation. It has to be fermented and leavened bread. Okay, so Rav Nosson explains why. Ki az ma'alin bechinat chametz leshorsho ha'elyon b'kedusha ha'elyona. Because then on Shavuot, we have finally rectified our waiting, the concept of waiting, where normally when you wait and you're pushed back to the domain of evil, it's not good. It's not pleasant. It's not at all holy. You feel you're being desecrated. You're being pushed back. Okay? But when you pass that test, then on Shavuot, we take all that waiting and now elevate it to its root. The root of waiting, where you have a setback, and you feel you're being fermented on a negative term, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, in life. The waiting has caused you to be leavened, and all types of convolutions and confusion enter your mind as an admixture because of the leavening that you're going through, because you're waiting to advance. Okay, when you pass that test, it now connects to its root, which is also waiting. The root of waiting, the waiting of holiness in order to enter the domain of the infinite light. Ki az ma'alin, then on Shavuot, we elevate the Chametz l'shorsho ha'elyon b'kedusha elyona. You're now able to, we're now, after waiting and holding on, after counting 49 days of Sfiyat Omer, after the first night of Pesach, and we're still counting, meaning we're still yearning for the countdown, meaning we still want the receiving of the Torah, which we said in the previous class, is the key for perception. By doing mitzvot b'simcha, which is the idea of receiving the Torah. Kabbalat Torah means to receive, fulfilling the Torah in happy format, in happy mode, which is the key to connecting, the key to connection. And by waiting for this to happen, even though in the meantime you're being purged, you're being mamash burnt out and wasted, but you're still holding on after everything you're going through, waiting to advance, so then you're able to connect to the root of the chametz, which is even higher than matzah, believe it or not. This is the waiting needed to perceive the light of the Keter, beyond the Keter, which is the infinite light. Because then on Shavuot we finally elevate the Chametz, the leavening, the concept of leavening, not just in food, but in the conceptuality in the world, what you're going through, the experience of Chametz in life, on a mental level, emotional level, psychological level, to its root, its upper root, in the highest level of holiness. Shebichinat koach hamesader. Rav Noson's amazing. That what is the root of chametz in holiness? It's called the mind's faculty of settling the mind. When you're ready to reach a high level, you're pushed back in order for the mind to settle itself. By settling itself, it becomes a vessel ready to receive within it the infinite light. Because you cannot go there. You're not allowed to pass that domain. You'll disintegrate. So what to do? They push you back, and while being pushed back, the mind begins to organize itself. That's the idea of the waiting. The waiting is needed. The process of waiting is needed in order for the mind to become settled. When the mind is settled, it's now ready to receive this higher level of intellect. People think they can reach this through all types of meditations and huji-buji and yoga and everything. The Torah has its way of getting a person to be settled. And what's that? All the ups and downs you go in life. You think as a Jew, look what I'm going through. I'm such a schlep. I'm such a shmendrik. I'm never advancing. These ups and downs that you're going through, and always waiting and starting again and waiting and starting again. This is the Torah Jewish format of perceiving the infinite light. If you think it means just to go to the forest and the jungle and to meditate and to do some type of a Himalayan disappearing act, that's not how it comes. The way of the Torah is you have to be purged. You have to be fermented. You have to go through craziness. You have to walk around with your shirt sometimes sticking out and your payas like this. And sometimes you're not organized like you would like to be. You're not so structured and organized also in your davening and your learning and everything. One day like this, one day like no. That's the way. That's the way of perceiving, of entering the light. That's the way. That's the way of entering the light. Okay? So this is the koach hamesader, which is the root of chametz. Shei bechinat hamten. That the faculty of the mind to settle itself is the idea of waiting. Rabbi Nachman goes into this in lesson 24. You gotta wait for the mind to have time to organize and structure everything inside of it. Okay? Bechinat keter. This is the idea of the keter. All this Rabbi Nachman explains nicely in Likutey Moharan lesson 24, paragraphs 7 and 8. That keter is the idea of waiting. He says this in paragraph 7 there, lesson 24, Likutey Moharan. That keter is milashon katar, wait. It's an Aramaic translation of waiting. And what is waiting? Chametz. How do you make leavened fermented bread? You let it sit. Chametz, as opposed to matzah and the matzah bakery, everything's fast. Boom, 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 boom. They're netting this, boom, boom, boom. They're doing the long metal rods, then they're making the holes and everything, or the machine does, the machine matzah. Everything's fast. And then 18 minutes, they stop everything, wash, rinse everything, everything's clean, then they start again. Everything is no waiting. Keep on going. That's matzah. Chametz is waiting. You let the dough and the water sit and sit and sit, and it ferments and ferments. Okay, with the leavening agents, the yeast, etc. So it's rooted in the spiritual source of Koach HaMesader, the mind's faculty of setting itself, which is Hamten, Bechinat Keter. That's the idea of the Keter. Shezeu Bechinat Chametz. This is the exact same quality of Chametz. Shenaaseh al yedei hamtana u'shehiyah mechune kanis kaneel. That Chametz is made, leavened bread is made by waiting, by hamtens, like standby and waiting until it ferments. And that is a necessary process of life. And believe it or not, that's the concept of Shavuot. The concept of receiving the Torah on Shavuot, the idea of the Keter, which means it translates on a practical level, tapping into the infinite light, which translates on a practical level, reaching levels beyond you that until now were beyond you. What you're waiting for, the next level to advance, it comes about through waiting. The idea of waiting and waiting for them to open the door for you. But you're waiting and you're waiting, and while you're waiting, going through many, many doubts and downs and all types of confusions and everything. But that's the key. And this is expressed in this period of the 49 Sphira day counting period, where we're waiting. The countdown is like we're waiting, can't wait. I can't wait for it to come finally. It was the 50th day, which is Shavuot, which is the concept of Chametz.